You can have your spring game, that's all fine, but not everybody gets 72,000 people to come out for theirs, and yet that's exactly what James Franklin had, the head coach of Penn State, joins us now. And you know, some coaches really shift away from having an actual game for their spring game and make it more of a scrimmage or a practice. You do not. How come?
Well, you know, obviously when you have 72,000 fans show up, they'd like to see more of a game-type experience, although it was difficult. Our numbers are way down. We had the offensive line in a separate colored jersey so they could run back and forth from one sideline to the other, to be honest with you. But I think that's what people would like to see, and we wanted to have some fun with it, make it competitive, and see how our guys stepped up on that stage.
Give me a player or two that pleasantly surprised you in the spring game.
We got a running back, Cole Chipielli, who really did some nice things for us. He led us in rushing. He really had a great spring overall. He's a neat kid, and to me that's what spring ball is all about, creating opportunities and see if some guys step up. The other guy was Zettel, our defensive tackle, who was a defensive end last year, had a really, really good spring as well, was dominant, very active, and excited about him.
Coach, based on your philosophy of taking advantage of the assets that you have on your team, what will the focus of your offense be this year?
I'm not sure yet. We got a lot of work to do. Yeah, I think that'll probably be determined during camp. This spring was more about kind of laying the foundation. You know, we got some challenges and issues just like everybody else in the country that we're going to have to overcome and be creative. But you know, this spring was more about just kind of laying foundations, and then we'll go back in summer camp and for next season and kind of play to our strengths, and still determining what those things are, to be honest with you, at this point.
You told me earlier the player or two that pleasantly surprised you. What about the flip side? Where are you most concerned about with this team?
Well, I think, you know, we got depth issues at the offensive line position. We got depth issues at the linebacker position.
Well, that's where I wanted to go next. I mean, the O-line gave up 9 sacks in that spring game. You mentioned there's really not a lot of depth there for you. So what can you do over the next handful of months as you get ready for the season for that?
Well, we're going to have to plan on playing some young kids, which you typically wouldn't do at that position. You know, we got some guys that are going to have to develop and get better and get more confident. Typically, the defense is ahead of the offense in spring ball in general, and that's magnified when you're installing new schemes. And then, you know, let's be honest too. We were blowing quick whistles. It wasn't true sacks. I was back there. If it was close, I gave him credit for the sack, and I blew the whistle. The quarterbacks didn't have a chance to step up in the pocket or break tackles or things like that. So, you know, we'll get it resolved.
What's it like inheriting a guy with the skill sets of Christian Hackenberg?
Well, there's no doubt. He's an impressive guy. I've been very, very pleased with him. I've also been pleased with our tailback situation as well. But again, you got to get the O-line situation resolved so you can take advantage of the quarterback, or you can take advantage of the running backs you have. Wide receiver is another position where, you know, we lost Allen Robinson, who was a great player and unbelievably productive. So replacing him is going to be important as well.
Well, Coach, right now you're doing a fantastic job recruiting for next season. So I want to talk a little bit about your philosophy there. So what makes you determine whether or not you stay in-state and take a Pennsylvania kid, or you go abroad and get a kid nationally? Or is it simply just this, take the best kid available?
I think mainly it is take the best player available. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But you're always going to be able to do a better job recruiting and developing relationships with kids that can get to campus, kids that are within 4 to 6 hours of campus. I think if it's close and it's a toss-up, you go with the in-state kid. But for us, you know, we don't just want to win the state of Pennsylvania. We want to be able to be, you know, competitive and successful not only in the Big Ten but nationally. So, you know, we're going to go wherever we got to go to find great players.
I know you can't talk about specific names, but Stanley's right. The recruiting thus far for next year is off to a great start. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think we got an unbelievable product to sell. The history, the tradition, the academics, the facility. Got a really positive, energetic staff. We got great kids in our program right now that sell our place as well. And there's an opportunity. We just talked about depth issues and things like that. So there's a great opportunity for guys to come in and make an impact on our roster early.
Before we let you go, James, be honest. 72,000, you didn't expect that. That's a ton of people for a spring game.
Yeah, I actually was calling for 80, and I went out and hired a guy that came in, and he did his own count, and he actually counted 82. So I'm actually going with the 82. But we reported 72.
Yeah, that guy's name is Frames Blanklin. James Franklin, the head coach of Penn State. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.